Right, today we are taking a look at a pretty interesting camera review. We're looking at the Sigma BF, which I've had for about a week. So I've been out and about. I've really tried to use it as much as I can in the beautiful weather that we've had. A bit in low light, a bit just in the sun, you know, here and there, just going out, having a good time with it. Because this camera is probably one of the most interesting cameras I've had to review for a long time. There's lots of different reasons for that. It's one of those cameras where the specs on paper, while they're not going to blow you away, they feel largely irrelevant in some ways compared to the experience of shooting with it. And also the look of it, right? I mean, the aesthetics of the camera, which is not something that we always take into account as a particularly important thing, are clearly very important when it comes to the BF. I mean, just look at it. It is an absolutely stunning little camera. It's such a unique design, right? Just this single block of aluminium, and that really is what it is as well. I love the actual feel of it and the way it looks. It's going to look great on a shelf. It's going to look great out and about as well. And that's not something I ever really think about when it comes to a camera review, but it is important with this particular camera, as is the user experience. I mean, look at the amount of connections on the side. There's one USB-C port on the side. Look at the buttons on the back. There's not much going on there, right? And then you've got one shutter on the top. The way you control this camera is so different to most cameras that I ever use. And I love it. I really, really love it. Now, like I say, the specs on paper are not anything particularly special. 24 megapixel full frame sensor in the camera. Images look great, right? That resolution is not going to blow your mind, but it's more than enough for kind of your everyday photography. For really most things, actually, 24 megapixels is more than enough. You can still crop a little bit there with that as well. You've got enough detail to do that. You've got autofocus, which is really quite good, right? Subject tracking is pretty decent. Again, it's not going to blow you away, but you're probably not shooting the kind of content that needs that crazy autofocus that we see on some of the really high-end cameras, because you're probably not going to be popping a massive telephoto lens on the front of this, right? For wildlife or sports. It's more of your kind of everyday thing. Something like this, the 35mm f2 sits beautifully on the front. Sigma have actually released some of these lenses in silver to match with the silver version of the BF, which I just think is such a good move because the aesthetics matter so much. And this looks awesome. I mean, it looks amazing. There's a few things you'll probably notice immediately the camera doesn't have. So no EVF on the back, which actually I think is fine. I think for the kind of camera this is, that's not really that much of a problem. There's no tilting screen. It is a touchscreen, but there's no tilting screen, which I did miss. That's probably the one aspect that I really did miss while using the camera. I get why it's not in there. I get why it doesn't tilt, partly because the aesthetic, right? It probably has to be like this, I'm assuming, to fit in with this kind of aluminium block design that they've gone for. I assume a tilting screen would kind of ruin that. Even so, I did miss that when I was shooting very low and I just wanted to be able to tilt the screen to be able to see it. But, you know, it's not the end of the world, right? Some people actually prefer it not to be like that. It does leave you with this incredibly sleek design. There's no image stabilization in the camera. There's no mechanical shutter either. But all in all, the images still look really nice, right? The kind of stuff you're going to shoot with this is your everyday stuff, your weekend stuff, your travel stuff. This probably isn't going to be used for professional shoots, sporting events, weddings, you know, because it's just not that kind of camera. But what it is based around, which is having fun and enjoying your photography, I do think those specs are completely fine. But like I mentioned before, not completely relevant compared to the actual experience of using this. I mentioned before there's only one port on the side, which is USB-C. That's used for charging the camera, but it's also used for taking all the images off the camera. You've got built-in storage here, so you're not using any cards. You've got 230 gigabytes of built-in storage, which is, frankly, is loads, right? You're gonna get loads of images on here, or video, of course. You can shoot up to 6K with this camera. Again, it's not crazy, 4K 30p, so nothing crazy there. Full HD up to 120 frames a second, so you can get a bit of slow motion if you want, but nothing crazy, but you are going to be storing it all internally with nice big storage, which I really like. In fact, I'm always surprised this isn't a bigger thing within the industry in a larger way. Keeping it with one port as well does keep it nice and sleek on the side. And similarly, it's pretty sleek on the back. You just don't have many controls to really worry about. You pretty much control everything from this wheel, pressing left and right, which aren't even actual clickable buttons. It kind of just senses that you're pressing it. And then using the wheel to change your settings. So you might move from aperture then actually rotate the wheel to change your aperture, unless you've got an aperture ring on the lens. Shutter speed, same thing. ISO, same thing. White balance. You've got photo filters in camera. It's all really controllable from the back of the camera there, and I love it. I love the UI, and I love the experience of shooting this way. You're using this little display at the top to see exactly what you're doing, and it just works. It just works so well. It takes you a few minutes to get used to it if you're coming from, a lot of other cameras that do not work this way. Once you get it, it's incredibly simplistic and actually really, really straightforward and kind of obvious in the way that it works. You have the option to actually hold in the middle of the circle and actually go more in depth on your setting, which I think is really useful as well. But otherwise you can keep it pretty simple and just start shooting. And that's pretty much it. You have a couple of other buttons there for things like recording and looking back at previous images. Otherwise, that is pretty much all of the controls that you're going to be using other than the touchscreen as well. The only other thing on the back is this very small thumb rest, which, look, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not like it's the most comfortable design there could possibly be. Again, I totally get it. It's all to keep it in kind of this sleek box-like design, which does look great, right? And a proper grip would probably ruin it a little bit. It's not the most comfortable, but it's not that heavy, so it just doesn't matter that much. And again, it's not that kind of camera. It sounds kind of flippant to say this, but it's as beautiful as an accessory as it is as a usable, fun camera, right? The BF stands for beautiful foolishness, which I think is actually a great tagline, but it also really does sum up what it feels like to shoot with this camera. You're not doing it because you're getting paid. You're doing it because you're having fun. And it does help, I think, at least for me, it does help kind of rediscover why I enjoyed photography in the first place. It just is a nice camera to go and shoot with. I was having fun. I found myself shooting not even for this review, just because I was enjoying myself. I also found that the whole experience slowed me down a little bit in a good way, right? I was moving between these different things on the back rather than having all these different dials so I can just immediately dial everything in. I was going a little bit slower, right? Using that wheel on the back just a little bit slower. And I always like that because it makes me feel a lot more deliberate about my choices for how I'm choosing to shoot the photos that I'm shooting. It just makes me think a bit more, which usually ends up giving me a better end result. And whether you agree with my thoughts about the kind of the grip and the non-tilting screen and stuff like that, you kind of have to respect Sigma's commitment to the design of the camera. They really were not going to shift from the way this looks. And I think that was a really bold call, number one, but I also think it was probably the right call, right? Because otherwise it starts to just look like any camera. And I think this just looks so interesting. It's a cool design. And that does matter. That matters more than I thought it did when I first got the camera. A couple of other things I've been thinking about with this camera is, could you use this as a beginner? Who is this really for? There's a couple of interesting thoughts around that, right? I think that yes, you could, right? Absolutely. But it feels more geared towards people who know how to shoot in manual, for example. So photographers, people who know how to shoot photography, right? This is your weekend camera. This is your camera you go out and about with and you shoot kind of, I guess, properly, but it's a nice looking camera. It's a fun camera. So could you shoot with this as a beginner? Absolutely. But you're going to get the most out of this if you do know what you're doing, because actually using those controls on the back is really simplistic, really nice. And you can let the camera do a lot of the heavy lifting, but you're just going to get the most out of it if you are in full control, right? That is the best way you're going to be shooting. I also think that overall the limitations that actually this camera has is something that you can embrace. And I think that it kind of makes the whole experience more fun in a way, because you're not relying on all these unbelievably amazing tools to get the job done. Or it's something that's going to put you off a little bit, which is also an important consideration, right? This camera is not for everyone. I don't think it was made to be for everyone. This camera, it feels quite special. I really like it. I'm a big fan, actually. I'm a way bigger fan than I thought I was going to be when I just looked at the specs. I think it's one of those kind of cameras where on paper, it's not that interesting. But once it's in your hands, it's a totally different situation. Now you can check out this camera in silver, which absolutely I would imagine is the right choice, or in black over at parcameras.com. I'll pop links down in the description so you can go and check those out for yourself. Of course, don't forget to like and subscribe because there's new content all the time, tutorials and reviews every week, all the time. I'll see you in the next video. But until then, as always, thanks for watching.